Hello everyone, Akhil Rajaratnam here and welcome to today's daily news analysis. So today is March 27, which is celebrated globally as a World Theatre Day. So to begin our session, let's dive into a quick quiz on ancient Indian theatre itself. Okay, so this is the quiz. So by the end of the session, we'll be discussing this question. Okay, so you can post your answers in the chat box. Okay, so this is a quiz. Who is considered the author of Natya Shastra, the ancient Indian treatise on dramaturgy and performance arts? Okay, so options are one is Kalidasa, A is Kalidasa, B is Bharadamuni, C is Bhasa, and D is Panini. Okay, so you can post your answers in the chat box. We'll be discussing this answer by question by the end of the session. Okay, all right. So these are the four topics which I have taken for today's daily news analysis. The first one is related to the National Judicial Appointment Commission. Again, this was from today's Indian Express only. So debates are continuing over this National Judicial Appointments Commission and its implications of judicial appointment. So we'll be discussing what is this National Judicial Appointment Commission, what were the pretext of this, and what was the VP's remarks on this. Like that way, we'll be comprehensively covering this for the mains perspective. Okay, all right. Next one is related to the GST framework. So recently, the Public Accounts Committee of this Parliament, so they called for a thorough reassessment of the current GST structure. Again, here also we'll be discussing what is this GST framework we are following, what is this GST slab, and what are the issues we are facing, and what were the recommendations of this Public Accounts Committee. All these things we'll be discussing in the second topic. Okay, so third one is related to a very important topic known as a bioeconomy. Okay, so India's bioeconomy is growing, but strategies are needed for the sustained development. So we'll be discussing what is this bioeconomy, what are the strategies we are implementing. All these things we'll be discussing in this particular section. Okay, so finally, last one is related to mining only. So recently, more than half of 1 lakh crore mining welfare fund remains unutilized. So there was a finding related to that. More than half of 1 lakh crore mining welfare fund remains unutilized. Okay, so we'll be discussing what are the bodies involved in this and what are the government schemes involved in this and how these people are getting, these people in this mining affected areas are getting benefited from all these things and what are the issues related to these particular schemes. Okay. All right. So before moving on to the discussion, let me introduce you to our product. So first one is a 1-year prelims comes mains integrated course. So this will be for the aspirants who are aiming the 2026 examination, and also we have a 2-year prelims comes mains integrated course. So this will be for the students who are aspirants who are aiming the 2027 examination. Okay. So our USPs are we'll be giving 800 plus hours of general studies and CSAT online classes, completely online class, and also we'll be having 200 plus hours of current affairs session will also be there. We'll also be giving you a strategic micro schedule so that decoding the syllabus will be easy for you, and we'll have expert faculty for all the subjects, and obviously testing and training is also very much important in your preparation. So we'll have practice test for both prelims as well as mains examination. Okay. All right. So moving on to the first topic, this is related to the National Judicial Appointments Commission. Okay. So why this was in the news? Because recently our Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, so he criticized the 2015 Supreme Court judgment. So the 2015 Supreme Court judgment was that struck down the National Judicial Appointment Commission. Okay. So the Parliament has already enacted one act, and 2015 Supreme Court appointment, they struck down this and they reinstated the collegial system. Okay, so he said if that things would not have happened, everything would have been different. For example, the judgment would have been different. So that was the meaning which he has given. Okay, so let's break it down. What is this issue? What is this NJAC? What was regarding the bill? All these things we'll be discussing in this particular session. Okay, all right. So we'll start with the previous year question. Again, this is directly from this NJAC only. Critically examine the Supreme Court's judgment on National Judicial Appointments Commission Act of 2014 with reference to appointment of judges of higher judiciary in India. It's a direct question from this particular topic itself, asked in 2017 mains examination. Okay, all right. So we'll start with the basics. What does the Constitution has to say regarding this particular thing? Okay, so if you take the Constitution, we have two important articles related to the appointment of judges. One is Article 120. One is Article 124(2). Okay, so this is related to the appointment of the SC judges, and also we have another article, Article 217. This is related to the appointment of the High Court judges. So both of them say that judges are appointed by the president. Okay, so who is a appointing authority? It is a President of India. President of India is a appointing authority, but only after consultation. Okay, this term is important. Only after consultation. After president cannot directly appoint someone based on his will, but he has to do some consultation. For SC, who he has to consult? He has to consult with the judges of the Supreme Court and High Court for SC appointments. Okay, so he has to consult with the judges of Supreme Court and High Court. So this is necessary for appointment for SC judges under Article 124 Article 124 but for HC or for High Court, he has to consult more people. For example, it with the CJI, Chief Justice of India, and also the governor of that particular state, in whichever High Court he is appointing. So that governor also he has to appoint it, and the Chief Justice of that particular High Court. Okay, so this is for Supreme Court, and for High Court, he has to consult one, the governor of that state, and the Supreme Court, Chief Justice of India, and also the Chief Justice of that particular High Court. If he is not appointing the Chief Justice, he has to, for appointing a judge, he has to consult with the Chief Justice of that particular High Court. Okay, but there is actually a twist. The word used here is consultation and not concurrence. Okay, consultation is entirely different from concurrence. So this is what we have inferred from the constitution. Okay, so that means that the president wasn't bound to accept. President wasn't bound to accept what the judges say. Okay, so judges might this group of judges or the consultation people, so they might say that you appoint this one, but president has no liability to go with this particular recommendation. So this is the key here. Okay, so initially we can say that executive has the final say. Executive means here it can be the president, PM, cabinet, whoever it is. Okay, for example, even though the president is appointing, who will be giving advice to the president, it will be the prime minister as well as a council of ministers will be. Okay, so the executive had a primacy in this judicial appointments in the earlier times. Okay, so this was people understood that okay, there was an issue with this, and that was challenged in the judges case. We have a very popular three judges, first judge case, second judge case, and third judge case is also there. So we'll discuss how these things evolved in that particular cases. Okay, first one is the first judges cases. It happened in 1981. Okay, 1981, the first judge cases. Officially, it is a SP Gupta vs Union of India case. SP Gupta vs Union of India case, or it is popularly known as the first judges case. So here the Supreme Court said that yes, consultation is just consultation and it is not binding. Okay, so consultation did not mean concurrence. So whatever the president is not bound to follow the advice given by the Supreme Court, the judges of the Supreme Court as well as a High Court. Okay, so this is what the Supreme Court said in the first judges case. So again, here also we can see that executive is having an upper hand. Here again, executive is having an upper hand in the first judges case. So whatever the constitution said, they have upheld that. Okay, but something changed in the 1993 judgment, that we call it as the official name is Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association with Union of India, popularly known as a second judges case. Popularly known as a second judges case. So in the second judges case, the court flipped the narrative. Okay, so they gave judiciary the primacy in appointment. So this was when they have introduced something known as a collegium system. This was a time when they introduced something known as a collegium system in the second judges case. So in the first judges case, they said consultation did not mean concurrence. Here they said, so here the executive had the upper hand. So here they want to bring judiciary primacy in the appointment. So they introduced something known as a collegium system. Okay, and later in 1998, in the third judges case or the re-presidential reference 1998, they clarified the collegium strength. They clarified what this collegium strength is. So this happened in the third judges case. So they defined collegium as for SC, for appointment of the SC judges, the Chief Justice of India plus 4 senior most SC judges. Okay, so for SC appointment of the SC judges, Chief Justice of India plus 4 senior most judges. Okay, so this was a collegium which was therefore um, appointment of judges of the Supreme Court. Okay, and for High Court, Chief Justice plus 2 senior most SC judges plus the Chief Justice of that High Court. Okay, so this is a collegium for this High Court. Okay, so the Chief Justice of India will be coming, and also 2 senior most judges of the Supreme Court will be coming, and also in whichever High Court they are going to appoint, so that High Court Chief Justice will also come. Okay, that High Court Chief Justice will also come. Okay, so like that way they clarified what this collegium system is. So 1993 they introduced the collegium system. 1998 they clarified what is this collegium system. They further clarified, and the key point is if the collegium repeats a recommendation. Okay, so they can reject it. The president can reject it, but if the collegium again says that repeats a recommendation, the president must accept it. Okay, so this is what happened in the collegium system. So why they have created this collegium system? It's not just for the appointment itself, but many other purpose. The collegium had a lot of purpose. The transfer is also there. Okay, other than appointments, even when a judge is getting transferred, also this is used. So idea was to keep the politicians and the executive away from the judicial appointment. They don't want. They just want to ensure that the separation of power is clearly done. Okay, so this was the main reason, and also the government can return a recommendation once. Okay, that can be the president can say that it is not possible. So maybe the collegium can again rethink regarding this. But still, if the collegium is again saying that no, this is the only recommendation we are having, then the president has to accept that. Okay, this collegium system had a lot of advantages were there. Obviously, disadvantages were also there, but still advantages were also there. One, it ensures the independence. It protects the judicial independence and prevents political interference. Okay, it ensures that there is a judiciary should be independent only. Okay, there should not be any political interference. Then judgments will be biased. So this ensures that there is a judicial independence, and also political interference is also not there. And also in our constitution we have something known as a separation of power. Separation of power means, so separation of power means we'll be having the executive is there, 3 branches. Executive is there, the ministers, the officials and all, and also we have the legislatures, MPs, the MLAs. So that is the legislature, and also we have the judiciary. According to Indian system, we follow a parliamentary form of government. Okay, so we cannot say that there is a clear separation of power between the executive and the legislature, but judiciary we can separate. Okay, so if the appointment is also done by the judiciary only, it will be completely separate. Okay, and also it will ensure that there is a continuity in the judicial appointments also. Okay, but the system was also not perfect. There were many problems in this system. One, it is completely opaque. It is completely opaque. No one knows how the decisions are made. Okay, so this is done by the judges only, but on what basis they are doing it, no one knows. Okay, it's something which is hidden within the judiciary. So that's one major issue. And also there was no accountability, was also not there. No explanation, no reasons were given. Okay, even if they are, even if the government say that no, we cannot appoint also, if they are again saying that you should be appointed, they are not bound to give any explanation. No accountability, no reasons are also needed. Okay, and also it is exclusionary. Exclusionary means no role for the public, no role for the, see, executive is not involved, legislature is not involved, even the public is also not involved. So completely an opaque process. Okay, no civil society, no bar council, nothing is being there. Okay, and also sometimes there are allegations of this nepotism, favoritism and groupism within the judiciary also. This is a major issue. Okay, there are allegations of this favoritism, nepotism, especially in this recent times and all. We are hearing a lot of things regarding the judiciary. Okay, so while the overall collegial system protects the independence of judiciary, it fails on the transparency front, or maybe the accountability front, it is failing. So what the government did is in 2014, the government tried to fix these problems by bringing in a new system that we call it as a National Judicial Appointments Commission. National Judicial Appointments Commission to fix all these issues. So this was passed by the parliament in 2014. So again, this is something which is related to the um, which is affecting the states only. Supreme Court, and obviously the state ratification is also needed. So almost 20 states has ratified this, and it got the presidential approval also, and this bill was passed, and so which means that it had a wide support also. It had a wide support, but let's have a look at some of the issues were also there with this National Judicial Appointment Commission. Okay, so obviously Constitution was amended, and it was a 99th Constitutional Amendment Act. It was brought in the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act, and the act was National Judicial Appointments Commission Act 2014. It was a Constitutional Amendment Act. So what is the composition of this National Judicial Appointments Commission? So the chairperson will be from the judiciary only. It will be the Chief Justice of India. Okay, so Chief Justice of India will be the chairperson. So the Chief Justice of India will be the chairperson of this committee, and also will be having two senior most SC judges will also be there. Two senior most Supreme Court judges will also be there. And again, the controversial thing is coming here. The Union Law Minister is also a member. The Law Minister, Union Law Minister is also a member, and also two eminent persons are also. Okay, two eminent persons are also there. So how we are actually selecting these eminent persons? It will be selected by a panel only. So that panel includes the Prime Minister. So again, here executive is there. Okay, Prime Minister will be there, but obviously CJ will also be there. Chief Justice of India will also be part of it. Again, to balance the both sides, we'll be having leader of opposition will also be there. Leader of opposition of Lok Sabha will also be part of it. Okay. All right. So it had some merits. It had some merits with it, and maybe we can say that it was a good idea also. Okay. So what were the positives of this? Even though these two members are out of this judiciary, there were some positives for this National Judicial Appointments Commission. One, it is having some transparency and accountability. So it made the system more open and also democratic, and also allowed the public oversight, allowed the public oversight in the system. Why? Because multiple stakeholders are there. For example, the Prime Minister from the executive is there, even legislature, maybe from the opposition, we have the leader of opposition is coming there. The Law Minister is coming, he is an expert member, will be there. CJ, obviously CJ will be there. So multiple stakeholders will be part of it. Multiple stakeholders will, so it will be balanced. We cannot say that it's an opaque system. Opaque system. Okay, and it balance many things like merit will be considered, when seniority will be considered, and even diversity also. For example, women, all these things will also be considered while making the appointment. But criticism was also strong too. So people, or maybe the popular opinion was that the presence of the law minister, could affect the independence. Why? Because he is part of the executive only. Okay, so mostly the Supreme Court, or the court, judiciary has to criticize the what executive. So if law minister is part of it, he will be selected, or maybe the Prime Minister is part of the panel, means he will be selecting someone who will be giving them a favor judgment. Okay, so this kind of criticism was very much common. Okay, another important thing is the term eminent persons. The term eminent persons was too vague, and the critics felt that this could lead to executive overreach. Why? Because here also the panel will be of Prime Minister will be. Prime Minister will be there. Even leader of opposition will also be there. So that's these people are out of the judiciary. Okay, even though we are saying that merit will be considered, seniority will be considered, there is no written criteria regarding how these things will be considered. Okay, so this is also something which is there, and maybe we can say that it's an executive overreach in the judiciary. We have heard regarding the judicial overreach, but this is an executive overreach in the judiciary, and most importantly, the Supreme Court saw this as a threat to the judicial independence. Okay, and judicial independence is something which is part of the basic structure. So here we can say that, or maybe the criticism is it violates a basic structure, violates a basic structure of the constitution. So what the Supreme Court did is, in 2015, the Supreme Court struck down this National Judicial Appointment Commission, or the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act was made void. Okay, Supreme Court struck down the National Judicial Appointment Commission as unconstitutional. So the Supreme Court said independence of judiciary is part of the basic structure. Basic structure. The executive cannot be an equal player in this appointments. It should be done only by the judiciary, okay, only by the judiciary. So this Supreme Court has clearly said that. So in the first judge case, we can see that the court said that okay, executive should be having the power. Second judge case, they introduced the collegium. Third judge's case, they clarified what is part of the collegium. Okay, so like that, judiciary was gaining power. So somehow this executive wanted to ensure that it's not an opaque system, and also it should be a more diverse system. But somehow the court, in a 4-1 majority, okay, in a 4-1 very huge majority, they have struck down this entire constitutional amendment act itself. Okay, and the inclusion of the non-judicial members was a fatal flaw. This is exactly what Supreme Court has said. And also the executive cannot be a co-equal participant. Okay, so what the Supreme Court did, they struck down the NJAC and they reinstated the collegium system. Okay, but still one thing which Supreme Court acknowledged was that uh, the collegium system had some issues. The collegium system had some issues, but still NJC was not the right answer to this collegial system. Flaws in the collegial system, there should be some refining in the collegial system, and they invited suggestions to improve it also. Okay, so this is what happened in 2015. So this is something which made background of the Vice President's recent remarks. So he said that he believes that court shouldn't have blocked this NJC, and if NJC was there, it would have been a different picture now. Okay, and also there is an ethical perspective also there in this particular question. Why? Because there is a question of whether we should go with the independence or we should go with the transparency. Okay, so this question is also very much relevant here. Okay, so regarding the judicial independence, the collegium will be having full protection. Okay, why? Because it's completely decided by the judges only, completely decided by the judges only. So it is full protection. Sir. NJAC means that we cannot say that judicial independence. Why? Because eminent members are coming. Mostly Prime Minister will also be having a say in that, and also the Law Minister who is out of the judiciary is also coming. Transparency in this collegial system, no transparency, no public accountability is there. Here NJAC, there is a accountability from also different diverse sections are also be part of it. Okay, meritocracy, collegial system, favoritism amongst the judges can be a part of it. Here it is more broader evaluation has a scope, maybe merit like seniority, many things like diversity, like participation, women can also be considered. Okay, all right, democratic values, no democracy is there in this collegial system. Here diverse section, so obviously it's a participative structure will be there. Accountability is very limited in this collegial system. So here NJAC, there is a built-in checks and balances are inbuilt in this NJAC system. Okay, all right. So we see that each system has its strengths and weaknesses. So the challenge we are actually facing as of now is to balance this independence, whether to balance, whether to go with independence or whether to go with the openness. Okay, all right. So this is exactly what happened, but we can have some examples from the global context also. For example, what other countries are doing in this appointment. So there are flaws in other countries also, but like how we adopted the constitution, we have not directly copied any constitution. We took elements from other countries. So like that way, in this particular process also, we can take examples from the other countries. Okay, so we'll see some global context. So what is happening in USA? What is happening in America? So here politicians are involved. Here politicians are involved. So who is nominating? The president will be nominating, and the Senate will be confirming. So president is part of the executive only, right? So obviously it's a very political, but we can say that it's transparent. Transparent, why? Because there'll be multiple public hearings will be. So obviously it will be a transparent system. Okay. So the president can often go with partisan things. Okay. So that is a issue here. Okay, coming to UK, United Kingdom, so they have a independent judicial appointments commission like NJAC. They have a judicial appointments commission is there. Okay, so here the advantage is high transparency. The transparency is high. Politics is low. Politics is low. Why? Because a body is only selecting. It's not like the president is selecting, but a body is only selecting. So obviously the transparency is high. Okay, and also since the body is selecting, they can choose based on the merit. They can choose based on the merit. Okay, so if you take the example of Canada, there also committees there, Judicial Advisory Committee, same like this UK only, it's a different name. Judicial Advisory Committee is there. So here also independence is high. Here also the independence is high. Again, they will also be focusing on the merit based candidates will be there. South Africa, if you take, again here also Judicial Service Commission is there, judicial, but here a mix of politicians, judges and academics will be there, but it's transparent because the process is open to public. So yeah, what India can do is India can also compare all the systems. So in some system there is high transparency, some system there is high independence will be. So we can combine all these elements and we can create something which is very much suitable for the Indian context. Okay, so this is what we can do. So what is the way forward? We have some short-term measures. We need to go with some medium-term measures and we need to go with some long-term vision also. Then only we will be able to focus on that instead of doing a very concrete thing which we can do. Okay. So how do we move forward? Three-step process will be there. One, to make the collegial system, reform the collegial system, make the collegial system more transparent. So what is actually the criteria? We need to publish, we need to make it open. What is actually the criteria? What are the reasons for appointment, what are the reasons for rejection, all these things should be made transparent. And also we need to use online portal, digital portal should be there, so we should be able to, everyone should be able to track this appointment. So this is also one of the things which we can do. Okay, and in the medium term, what we can do, so NJAC has been struck down, so we need to go with something like NJAC 2.0. So judiciary already acknowledged that there are some issues with the system, so obviously what we can do, we can ensure that the next NJAC is not affecting the independence of judiciary, but it is rectifying the issues with the collegial system. So like that way we can do. And also in this NJAC 1, eminent persons are also coming, but that was not set clearly. What does this eminent person, that is not set clearly. So here we can clearly define who are this eminent person. So there should be an independent selection committee to select these eminent people. Okay, and also in the long term, what we can do, there should be a transparent, participative and institutionally robust system. Okay, long term, so that when we adopt all these things itself, we'll understand what are the issues in it, so we can correct that and we can make the NJC much better. Okay, so we need to go for a constitutional consensus between the organs of the state, whether it be legislature, whether it be executive, or whether it be the judiciary. Okay, so the question is, do we want a system that is independent but secretive, or one that is transparent but possibly influenced? So this is the question, or this is a dilemma which we are actually having. Okay, all right. So hope you have understood regarding what is this NJC, what were the provisions of that, why we need an NJC, or why what are the issues of the collision. You have understood that. Okay, all right. Moving on to the next topic. This is related to the GST framework only. Okay, so GST is something which we hear every day on a daily basis. So whenever we buy something and get a bill, GST will be there. So here, what was the news? Recently, the Public Accounts Committee is a committee of the Parliament. So they give a strong push to the Finance Ministry, saying that GST should be simplified for them. There should be easier rules should be there, and also technology has to be incorporated, better tech support, and now we have artificial intelligence also. So we can make use of this artificial intelligence to make this tax collection smarter. So like that way, we need to incorporate better things so that GST will be made much more easier, as well as we will be able to make it less complex. Okay, all right. So we'll see a previous year question. Enumerate the indirect taxes which have been subsumed in the goods and service tax in India. I'll also comment on the revenue implications of the GST introduced in India since July 2017. Question was asked in 2019. Okay, all right. So we'll see what is this GST itself, goods and service tax of GST itself. Okay, so GST is actually a destination based tax. It's basically an indirect tax. It's basically an indirect tax. So we have direct tax and indirect tax will be there. Direct tax means taxes like will directly give the money, like wealth tax will be there, income tax will be there. All these things are direct tax. Indirect tax means when we buy a product or something, that will be the tax will be we'll have to indirectly pay the tax by buying the product. Okay, for example, product is of 15 rupees, we will be paying 20 rupees. So 5% will be tax. So 5 rupees will be tax. So this is what is meant by indirect tax. Okay. So why it is known as destination based? Why? Because who is paying the tax? It is the final destination, that is a consumer is paying the tax. That is why we call it as a destination tax. Okay, so it is applied on supply of goods, and both goods as well as services. Goods and services all across India will be having a unified tax system. So this is why we have introduced a GST. Okay, so again for introducing GST also we wanted a constitutional amendment. Okay, so the constitutional amendment was 101. 101, the Constitutional Amendment Act. So through this Constitutional Amendment Act, it was this GST Act was implemented, and the goal was to make India into a one nation, one tax, one market. To make India into a one nation, one tax, and one market. Okay, so this was a purpose of implementing the GST. So before GST, we had a lot of taxes over there. Like it was a messy system. For example, we had this value-added tax was there, excise duty was there, service tax was there, octroi. So what GST made was GST did is like they incorporated. They combined all these taxes. They combined all these taxes and they made it into a single tax. Okay, so unified the taxation system and made the process much more simpler. Okay, so this is exactly what GST did. So we had central level excise tax was there, sales tax, service tax, so like that everything was combined. Almost all the taxes combined. So the main purpose was we had something known as a cascading effect. Cascading effect means tax on tax. For example, one product will be, or maybe one raw material will be taxed. Okay, one raw material will be taxed. So that raw material will be made to taken to make a product. Okay, so again that product will also be taxed. So here one taxation is coming, again after that one taxation is coming, like that if that is made for something else, again further taxation is coming. So to avoid that only we introduce a GST, to avoid the cascading effect. Okay, and also through GST we wanted to create a digital trade. For every transaction we wanted to create a digital trade, and also another purpose was to broaden the tax base. Okay, so if every tax is if GST is coming, GST is including every tax, we'll be getting a unified tax system, and obviously the tax base will also be broadened. Okay, so this was a purpose of it. Two important bodies which is governing this GST architecture: one is a GST council, one is a GST Council. So this is a constitutional body. So I've already mentioned that through the constitutional amendment only we created the GST. Okay, we created this GST tax. So what GST Council is, it has come through an article known as Article 279A. It has come through Article 279A. Okay, so this GST Council will be chaired by the Finance Minister. The Union Finance Minister will be the chairperson of this GST Council, and also it is not just a centralized body. GST is a body which is upholding the federal principles. Okay, so the members from all the states will be part of the GST Council. Okay, another important body is Central Board of Indirect Tax and Customs. Indirect tax. So everything related to the indirect tax will be dealt with the Central Board of Indirect Tax. So they implement and administer the central GST law. So this is mostly the ministerial body, GST high level body, GST Council. So they will be implementing whatever suggestions which were given by the GST Council. Okay, all right. So GST is not something which is having only a one tax. Okay, even though our purpose is one nation, one tax, one market, it's not one tax. So we have different slabs for GST. Okay, different slabs for different products we have for GST. So this is the as per the 2025. As per the 2025, the tax will make us understand that how much tax do we actually pay for every product. Okay, as of now we have mainly four slabs. Four slabs are there. So one is 0% GST. One is 0% GST. So this will be for essential product. For example, milk will be there, salt will be there, even fresh foods will be there, vegetables will be there. For all the things we have a 0% GST or maybe no GST itself. So after that the next slab is 5% GST. So this will be again for basic items. Basic items like packed food will be there, footwear will be there like agarbatti, cashew nut, all these things will be coming under the 5% GST slab. Okay. Next is a 12% GST slab. 12% GST slab, maybe 18% GST slab also we can say. Again, this will be for most of the goods are coming under this 12% and 18%. For example, like processed foods are coming, mobile phones are coming, maybe computers are coming, printers, CCTV, pickles. So like that way, these items are coming in the 12% as well as the 18% slab. So finally, we have the little more luxury slab. That is a 28% slab is a little more luxury slab. Okay, so here mostly the luxury cars are coming, motorbikes are coming, like that. Tobacco is coming, or also negative goods like tobacco. So these things are also coming in the 28% slab. Aerated drinks are also coming. Okay, so GST isn't a single rate; it varies depending on what is being sold. Okay, so next question is, who is collecting the GST? So we have different levels of government. We have the central government, we have the state government, we have the local self bodies are also there. So who is collecting this GST? And also this is something which is many of the students are confused. Like for example, we have CGST, central GST, SGST, state GST, IGST. So like that way, different types of GSTs also. We'll see what is this different types of GST and who collects this GST also. Okay, so first we have the central GST, CGST or the central GST. So who levies that? It is levied by the central government only. So this is applicable on intrastate supply of goods or services, intrastate supply of goods and services, and this will be collected by the central government itself. Okay, and after that we have the SGST or the state goods and service tax. Again, this will also be collected by the state government. This will also be for the intra-state supply of goods and service. So this will be collected by the respective state government will be collecting this. And after that, we have the integrated goods and service tax will be there. So this will be also be levied by the central government. This is applicable for industry within from one state to another state. So that only integrated goods and service tax is coming. So this will be applicable for interstate supply of goods, and this will be collected by the central government, but they will be giving it to the pool. Okay, so that it will be shared by the state governments. Okay, and also we have union territory goods and service taxes also there. Again, this also collected levied by the central government only. Intra union territory supply in union territories which without the legislature, this is also collected by the central government only. Legislature, there is legislature is there, that is a different case. So here the legislature is not this union territories which is not having a legislature. Okay, so then this is also coming in. Okay, all right. So on paper, GST was a game changer. It aimed to end the tax on tax problems. It ensure that the businesses will be made easier, better access across the states will be there, improved compliance will be, and also digital tracking is also one of the important aspect of this GST. But as with most of the reforms, execution, there were issues with the execution also. Okay, so that had its own set of problem. So we'll understand what went wrong with the GST after it was implemented. Okay, what were the practical challenges which was faced by the GST? Okay, one is complex compliance mechanism. Complex compliance mechanism because there are multiple return forms that has to be filed. For example, GSTR forms will be there. So we have GSTR1 will be there, GSTR3B will be there. So and also everything will be changing frequently. So there is nothing. For example, you will be thinking like, okay, I've studied GST, so now I'll be filing through. So after that, some GST council meeting will be there, and again everything will be overhauled. So this is also something which is especially the small businesses and all, they found startups. So they found it very difficult to keep up with all these changes. So that was one of the major reasons, one of the major challenges. Another one is the portal, the technical glitches in this GST portal. Okay, so now everything is digital only, but the digital infrastructure was not up to the mark. Okay, many of you might have heard regarding this. The servers are slow, login failures will be there. Sometimes you have to file it within this state system, but still the servers won't be working. Data mismatches will be there. So like that, these issues, this was also not a smooth area. And also GST compensation refund will be there. So this refund were also getting delayed, especially this affecting the people like MSME sectors will be there. Okay, and also the exporters. So they also want this refund so that they'll be getting the money back so they have to wait for a longer period to get this refund. So again, this will affect their cash flow. Why? Because if they are getting this money back, they can use it for other investment or for their operation. So again, this is also another issue. And also another one is a harsh penalty structures. Uh, even if there is an unintentional mistake is also there, the heavy fines. It might be unintentional or maybe due to their less knowledge about this portal and all this, but still the penalties will be very high. So this is especially affecting this small traders, say MSMEs and all. It is getting affected. Okay, another one is Aadhaar based authentication. Again, this is also having an issue. For example, biometric uh, authentication. So everything we need biometric. So this also again further slowing down the registrations will be there. Again, here also the small traders, MSME sector is getting it affected a lot. Okay, especially in the semi-urban regions and all, the traders will be. Okay, so basically the vision was good. The vision of GST was strong, but the practical experience, if you take it, due to this implementation challenges, it was very much rough. Okay, so this is where the PAC committee, sorry, the Public Accounts Committee is coming in. They have given some what reforms. Okay, so before moving on to this, their reforms, we need to understand what is this Public Accounts Committee. Why are they involved in this GST? Okay, so Public Accounts Committee, we can call it as it's a parliamentary watchdog. So what is they doing? It checks how well the public money is being used. Okay, so GST is also something which is coming under the finance only. Okay, so it checks how well this public money is getting utilized. So this works very closely with the CAG, Controller and Auditor General of India. So CAG will be giving some reports will be there. So they'll be analyzing these reports and they'll be pointing out what are the problems in this and how this tax systems has to run accordingly. Okay, so now this Public Accounts Committee, so they have given a report. They have given a report and they give some clear suggestions to improve this GST architecture. Okay. Alright, so these are the Public Accounts Committee recommendations on GST. So they wanted a comprehensive review of this GST and they wanted to completely come up with something new, that is a GST 2.0. GST 2.0. So they wanted a complete relook into the existing GST framework. They remove the unnecessary steps, all these things they have to remove and launch something which is very much new. Now we know what are the issues, right? So rectify it and do something better. In papers again that will be good, but still the implementation will be, challenges will be there. And more, we have to simplify this compliance of the MSME. Why? Because mostly this MSME sector as well as the small traders are getting affected. So we need a better friendly portals, we need a better friendly infrastructure, that is also needed. So portal functionality has also be improved. More user friendly portal has to be made. Okay, and also the penalties should be very fair. Penalty should be very fair. It should not be purposefully penalizing and extracting money. That kind of feeling should not be there. Okay, and also now we have better technology like AI technologies for tax collections and correcting these unintentional errors and all. Data analytics can be used. So like that we have to make use of the technology also. And also this is also a major issue. Aadhaar link registration, biometric issues also there. So that also has to be corrected. Okay, so that is another important thing which we have to implement. Okay, all right. So the key takeaway is we need to overhaul the existing GST system and come up with something new, GST 2.0, which is more inclusive and especially for the small businesses. Okay, so this is what we need to do. All right. So the next topic is something which is very important, that is bioeconomy. Bioeconomy. So you might have heard regarding this term bioeconomy. Usually it will be popping up in the science pages and all. But do you know what exactly this means? Because this is something which is having a lot of promising future. And recently, the India Bioeconomy report also, the 2024 report also just came, and it shows that the sector is not just growing but it's booming, because doubled the the sector has the valuation of the sector has doubled. It was earlier it was around $80 billion. Now it is around $160 billion, and by 2047 it is expected to reach $1 trillion. Okay, so that is actually the possibility of this. So we'll be discussing what is this bioeconomy and its relevance. Okay, the prelims related question: economic growth in the country will necessarily have to occur if related to the growth only. Right. So what is this bioeconomy? So bioeconomy is economic activities that involve production, use and conservation of this biological resource. So what do you mean by biological resources? Biological resource means everything related to this. For example, plants will be there, animals will be there, even microorganisms will be there. So if we are involving these biological resources like plants, animals or microbes or maybe anything for production, use and conservation, then we call it as a uh, uh, economy that relies on the biological resources and uses the biotechnology to convert this into useful product. For example, vaccines, we will be using vaccines, right? For example, the COVID vaccines, we are using microbes only. Through microbes only we are using the COVID vaccine. Medicines will be having microbes will be there. In agriculture we'll be using these plants will be used. Climate smart crops are coming. So that is something good. And biofertilizers are coming. Like making use of the mosses, ferns and all will be using this. This bio industrials are also coming. Biodegradable plastics are coming. So in all these things we are making use of this biological resources like plants, animals. So micro. So that is if we are involving that will be part of the um, bioeconomy. Okay, so why we are using this? It can either for medical purpose, it can for agriculture purpose, to for energy purpose or anything we can use that. Okay, all right. So now coming to the latest report which was released. So this report is released by the Department of Biotechnology, which is coming under the Ministry of Science and Technology. So we'll see what are the key highlights of this particular report. Okay, first one related to the valuation, only. So in 2020, the valuation of this bioeconomy was 86 billion. 86 billion. But in 2024, last year, the valuation is 165.7 billion. 165.7 billion. So we can see that the sector is booming like anything. And it almost got doubled in just 4 years itself. And our goal is to make it $300 billion economy by 2030 and also $1 trillion by bioeconomy by 2047. So this is our aim. This is our aim regarding biotechnology. So that's somewhere around 12x growth in the less than 3 decades itself. Okay, so this is our purpose. Okay, so where is this growth coming from? We need to understand what is fueling this India's bioeconomy. So that is mentioned in the report itself. Which all areas are there, which all states are there, all these things the report itself is saying. Okay, so this is the fastest growing segment. The fastest growing segment in this bioeconomy is a R&D and innovation. R&D and innovation is the fastest growing. So this can include like biotech softwares will be there, even online platforms will be there, artificial AI technology in this bioeconomy. So all these things, this is the R&D and innovation is the most important sector. Okay, and another one is a major contributor. So which all areas are the major contributor? So they are saying that biopharma sector. So the biopharma sector is contributing to approximately 50% of the total bioeconomy. Total bioeconomy, 50% is coming from biopharma sector. And regarding the company growth, number of biotechnology companies grew from 5,365 in 2021 to 10,075 in 2024. Okay, and that is expected to double by 2030. Again, here also it has doubled in just less than 3 years. It has doubled, and again from 10,000 it is expected to double by 2030, almost 20,000 by 2030. Okay, and also we need to understand which all states are mostly contributing to, or which are the leading states in this area. Again, you can see from here itself which all are the states. So Maharashtra is actually having a total share value of 21.4%, and Karnataka is having 19.5%. Telangana is having 12%. Gujarat is having 7%. Andhra is having 6.5%. Tamil Nadu is having 6%. UP is having 4%. So the leading states are Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Telangana. Okay, so these are the double-digit percentage states share of the total value. So that is coming from these states: Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Telangana. Okay, so these are the states which are booming. Maybe the major contributors in booming this. Okay. All right. So why this matters? Why this matters? Because the key highlights of this bioeconomy report is saying that the launch of a national bioeconomy mission. We need to launch a national bioeconomy vision so that everything, whatever we want to include in this to boost the bioeconomy, that should be entitled in this bioeconomy mission statement itself. And also we have different missions, like for example we have digital India as a mission, skill India mission. So like that we need a separate mission for this bioeconomy also. And also we need to invest in biomanufacturing infrastructure. Biomanufacturing infrastructure, for example, biotechnology parks can be there, production units can be their research hubs can be there. So like that way we need to involve more cities also. For example, not just focusing on the tier 1 cities, we need to grow it to the tier 2 as well as the tier 3 cities also. Okay, there should be an ease of regulation should also be there, make it easier to get the approvals, especially for this biotech products and all. Clinical trials should be made easier, better innovation licensing system should be made, so that is also there. And obviously, like in any system, we need to ensure that we are supporting the startups which are coming in this particular area. Also more funds should be given, more incubator innovation setup should be also be. Then obviously R&D should also be better. Okay, R&D like synthetic biology is there, genomics. These are some of the areas in which this will be boosted. So there also we need to invest a lot. Okay, so these are the highlights of India's bioeconomy report. So moving on to next topic. Again, this topic is related to mining only. So this article is saying that, the news item was saying that the mining revenues are supposed to help the communities who are affected by this mining, and it has not, but the problem is it has not reached them. Okay, so the context is over the past decade. Over the past decade, we have an institution known as a District Mineral Foundation. District Mineral Foundation. So they have collected nearly 1 lakh crore for the welfare of mining affected district, but over half of these funds remain unspent. So it is not getting benefited for the people who are affected by the mining. So this is the major issue which we are facing. Okay. All right. So previous year question in this regard, again a direct question from the District Mineral Foundation India itself, which was asked in 2016. Okay, so we'll see what is this District Mineral Foundation, but often we need to understand what happens when a region is rich in minerals. So when a region is rich in minerals, obviously we have to explore that, but often the local communities has to pay the price. For example, deforestation will be there, pollution will be there, displacement of these people will be there. So if they are living based on that area's livelihood, that livelihood will be there. So to address this only, the government has created this particular organization as a District Mineral Foundation. District Mineral Foundation. It was established in 2015. So we had an act known as the MMDR Act. MMDR Act, or the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act of 1957. So this act was amended. This act was amended in 2015, and this District Mineral Foundation was created. Okay, so these are District Mineral Foundation (DMF). They are non-profit trust. Okay, so what is the purpose? It is meant to redirect this mining profit. So mining means obviously we'll be getting profit. So some amount of the money, the mining profit, we are giving it back to the people who have been affected by this. So far 1 lakh crore has been collected. 1 lakh crore has been collected by this DMF, but shockingly over half of that is still unspent. So this is a major issue. Okay. All right. So this was established by Section 9B of the Mines and Minerals Act. Okay, Mines and Minerals Act of 2015. So this serves as an implementing agency to this particular government scheme, that is the Pradhan Mantri Khanij Kshetra Kalyan Yojana. Okay, so pre 2015, the contribution was up to 1/3 of the mining royalty, but pre 2015 post 2015, the contribution was up to 1/3 of the royalty. Pre 2015, this contribution is not exceeding the royalty as per the central government norms. So this is also one of the major issues which we are having. Okay. Now let's move on to the scheme. What is this Pradhan Mantri Khanij Kshetra Kalyan Yojana? So the main aim of this is to implement various development and welfare projects in the mining affected area. So basically this DMF. So DMF is something which is implementing whatever is said in this Pradhan Mantri Khanij Kshetra Kalyan Yojana. So this is the we can say that this is the PMKKY as a blueprint of the DM. Blueprint which the DM should be following. Okay, so what is the objective of this? To promote development and welfare of the mining affected communities in that area. Okay, so this scheme was made mandatory for all the states through a section known as a section 20A. Section 20A of the Mines and Mineral Regulation Act. So again, that was a reason. Okay, so how the funds should be used? It should be used based on a 70-30 rule only. So this is where things are getting little more specific. For example, the 2024 January, the government has come up with a guideline. So there they have said that how the DMF should be spending money. For example, there are some priority areas out there. There are some priority areas are there. So in this priority areas, the DMF should be spending 70% of the fund. So these are the priority areas: drinking water supply, environment preservation, pollution control, health care, education, welfare of women, children, welfare of aged and disabled people, skill development, sanitation, housing, agriculture, and animal husbandry. So these are the priority areas. Here they should be spending 70%. Okay, 70% of the money collected should be spent here. And also we have 30% should be sent on other areas. Okay, for example, like physical infrastructure, irrigation, energy and watershed development, environment quality enhancement. So in these areas they should be spending 30% of the money. Okay, so this was something which was clearly mentioned in the Pradhan Mantri Khanij Kshetra Kalyan Yojana. So this is something which we call it as a 70-30 rule. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the mains practice question. So we have completed the four topics. So moving on to the mains practice question. This is related to the NJAC only. Okay. All right. So the National Judicial Appointments Commission was a missed opportunity to democratize judicial appointment. In this context, evaluate the arguments for and against NJAC. Very direct question only. So what you can do here, you can briefly introduce what this NJAC is. So we in 2014 we have come up with the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act and we have established the National Judicial Appointment Commission, and 2015 the Supreme Court has struck down the NJAC. So like that way you can give an introduction. So the question is, it's a missed opportunity. So you have to evaluate what are the arguments. Four arguments are also there, and also four arguments are also there, and also against are also there. Okay, so what are the arguments in four? It will be it will give more transparency, more participation will be there, more democratic spirit will be there. Whatever is opaque, that can be early in the earlier collegium system, that can be avoided. So like that way you can write the four statement. Okay, and after that, what is against? Because risk of judicial independence, executive is also part of it. So obviously it will be affecting the judicial independence, and also most of the provisions are vague, like what are the eminent persons, how we will be selecting the eminent persons, whether it will the how we will be balancing the basic structure which is having the judicial independence. So like that way, that issue is also there. Okay. All right. So and finally we can conclude it like we should be having a balance should be there. Maybe we can come up with an NJAC 2.0 with a reform framework. So like that way you can come up with. Okay. All right. So moving on to the prelims practice questions. So these are the prelims practice questions of yesterday's daily news analysis. Today's daily prelims practice questions will be discussed in tomorrow's daily news analysis. Okay. All right. So with reference to vaccine regulation in India, consider the following statement. The Central Drug Standard Control Organization is India's national regulator for drugs, vaccines and functions under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So this statement is correct. So Drugs Control General of India, who heads CDSO, is empowered to grant emergency use authorization during public health emergencies. Okay, this statement is correct. This statement is also correct. So Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers oversees the function of CDSO. Okay, so this statement is wrong. It is not the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, but it is the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare that is overseeing this. Okay, so 1 and 2. Correct answer is 1 and 2. Next one, with reference to gold monetization scheme launched in 2015, consider the following statement. It was launched by RBI to reduce the fiscal deficit. The scheme aimed to mobilize idle gold held by households and institutions into formal financial system. All types of deposit under the schemes were discontinued in 2025. Okay, so this is not correct. It was not launched by the Reserve Bank of India. It was launched by the government only. Okay, it was not launched by the Reserve Bank of India, but it was launched by the government. It was launched by the Ministry of Finance only. Okay, so this statement is wrong. This is the correct answer. Okay, this was the objective of the gold monetization scheme. All types of deposit were under the schemes were discontinued in 2025. No, we have short-term deposits are there, long-term, medium-term deposits are there, long-term deposits are also there. So only medium and long-term deposits were discontinued. Okay, so this statement is also wrong. So correct answer is 2 only. 2 only is the correct answer. Okay. All right. Next one, with reference to equalization levy introduced by the government of India, consider the following statement. It was introduced to ensure that the foreign digital companies pay taxes or on revenues earned from the Indian users. Okay, so this statement is correct. This statement is correct. It is applicable only when annual payments of non-resident digital services provide exceeded 1 lakh. This is also correct. It is collected by the government directly from the foreign digital company. Okay, this is not correct. It was introduced through an amendment of the Companies Act. Again, this is also not correct. So the correct answer is 1 and 2 only. Okay, 1 and 2 only is a correct answer. So it was introduced by Finance Act, not the Companies Act. It was a Finance Act. Okay, so that is the correct answer. All right. So, so these are the questions of today's practice questions of today's daily news analysis. So we can go to our website navigator.narayanias.com. So the link will be posted in the chat box. You can click on that. So in our portal, we'll have a daily quiz tab will be there. So click on that tab and you can directly answer this question from the that portal itself. Okay, so these questions will be discussed in tomorrow's daily news analysis. All right. So in the beginning of the session, I've shown you a simple quiz related to national. So today's National World Theatre Day. So related to ancient Indian theatre, I've shown you a quiz. Okay, so the quiz is, who is considered the author of Natya Shastra, the ancient Indian theatre of dramaturgy and performing arts? Options were Kalidasa, Bharadamuni, Bhasa, Panini. Okay, so correct answer is Bharadamuni. Bharadamuni is considered as the author of this Natya Shastra. So Natya Shastra is an ancient Indian text on drama, dance, and even the performing arts also. Okay, all right. So that's it for today's daily news analysis. Thank you.